In today's day and age, we have come so far in our medical therapies to help cure children of their childhood cancers, but the unfortunate circumstance is that there are still very high-risk children and children who do relapse after their therapies that require a bone marrow transplant. One of the biggest complications with bone marrow transplant is graft versus host disease. So CJ, what kind of video games do you like? So CJ is a perfect model for inspiration to my project. He's joined us here in Dallas for the past few months where he underwent a bone marrow transplant. Unfortunately, he's actually still hospitalized. And the reason is not because of the cancer, which is now cured, but it's because of his graft versus host disease.
It's my stomach that's keeping me in here right now, but if it wasn't for that, I would be at home now.
So in a bone marrow transplant, you are using high-dose chemotherapy to essentially wipe out their immune system, and then you're representing their immune system with donor cells. And the thought behind the donor cells is that it introduces a new immune system by way of killing off their tumor cells, can then cure them of their cancers. With graft versus host disease, what you have is the new immune system can actually attack the patient's T cells as well as NK cells. So the unfortunate reality is that even though these children can be cured of these life-threatening cancers, they can then eventually die from the graft versus host disease. One of the most common and most devastating complications is with the gut or the intestines itself.
I've been going through an upset tummy and diarrhea.
To the point where we actually have to put him on a severely restrictive diet where for about 2.5 months he couldn't eat or drink anything at all. So what I'm doing in the lab is focusing my research and my efforts on understanding the gut itself and the impact that changes in the gut can have on developing graft versus host disease. We have very new exciting data that has shown that there are changes within the patient's gut microbiota that can determine whether or not a patient will develop graft versus host disease. It's super exciting. This is one of the first times that we've actually been identified this in a patient population before. Our hope is that with the therapies and with the research that we're doing here in the lab, then we're able to better predict and to better determine when these patients will develop graft versus host disease so we can intervene early on and find interventions to help prevent this complication from even occurring.
All I can say now is, let's get this thing done.